We are live on.
Okay.
Come on in. Alex DeAnda, Conservatives of Texas, EST 2019. We're out here at St. Mary's Church speaking with one of the members of the Sanctuary City for the Unborn Initiating Committee.
Yes.
John Barrett, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's a little chilly. I wish the wind would stop.
Yeah, there goes your telephone.
I'm doing fine. Yes.
It's going to happen. Not a problem. Well, John, the reason I called you out today is, we had a wonderful experience and trip there in D.C.
Yes.
We got to see a lot of things firsthand.
Yes.
A lot of the implications as to how important this this ordinance is to cities across the land, because people are circumventing particulars to go around.
Yes.
Here in Amarillo, Texas, what was it that made you jump on board this committee? What was going on that this had to happen?
Well, I was originally asked by Jana May to speak in front of the city council.
Yeah.
And I took a look at everything, and this conforms to everything that my church believes, the Catholic Church. Our catechism 2270 through 2275 speaks very clearly on abortion. And if you're a Catholic and you're a practicing Catholic and such, you cannot say, I'm a Catholic, but I believe in a woman's right to abort her child. Those are mutually exclusive. If you're a Catholic, you have only one position that you can take on this, which is you support life. When Jana May asked me to speak, I looked at it and I thought, yeah, I agree. I can wrap my head around this, and I can support her on this. I've addressed the city council on several occasions in support of the ordinance, and I've also attended the open meetings that Tom Sherlin conducts down at City Hall regarding this same issue.
As I understand, the last meeting that you went to, tell us a little bit about that. What occurred there?
Well, Tom Sherlin puts out an announcement that once a month he conducts an open city meeting for the general public to come in and address whatever concerns they have. And in the past, we on the committee and other members and other folks that are interested in making this ordinance come to fruition have attended those very meetings and expressed our views and opinions. And we have queried Tom on his position on the Sanctuary City for the Unborn ordinance. And as you know, Tom's been publicly vocal, and he's been on national news basically opposing the ordinance. However, this is contrary to political campaign events held by several members of our city council, if not all of them, who have all stated they are Christian and they are pro-life. Well, at the last meeting, I wanted to get an exact, concise answer to Tom's legal theory behind his opposition to the ordinance, insofar as Tom states that it's unconstitutional. And I wanted to get a further response and more details on that. When I came into the meeting, I sat down and there were 5 people in attendance. Jeff McGonigal, I think is how you pronounce his last name, myself, Jim Skank, and another couple who refused to identify themselves. No worries. And we began the meeting, and we followed Tom's instructions on the conduct of the meeting, time limits, etc. Jeff McGonigal went first, and then it came to me. And I followed up with Tom on the CP for T meeting where Bill Cunningham or someone like that, I can't remember the gentleman's last name, made a statement that was very controversial and completely untrue. And Tom was in attendance at that meeting, and I began by asking him why he didn't call this gentleman out for the untruth of what he had indicated there regarding the ordinance and its impact on the community. That's all I did. I just simply asked Tom a question. I'm talking respectfully like I am now, calm, cool, collected. Tom lit up. And he has been very clear that he does not like me very much. And Tom lit up on me, and that began the meeting. And I remained respectful and talking like I am now. And I figured I didn't have much time to get my questions out. So I proceeded with asking him the remainder of my questions, to which Tom's response was, "You need to leave, Mr. Barrett. You need to leave. If you don't leave, I'm going to call the police." And I was rather shocked, given that this is a public meeting, that the general public is invited, and we are there to discuss issues that we're concerned about within the community. As a citizen, I was denied my rights scale when he conducted himself in that manner. And I was shocked. But in order to keep the peace and the decorum of the meeting, I left. Right behind me, coming into the meeting, Pam Nobley showed up. And Pam will attest to the fact that when she looked in on the meeting through the window there, that I was smiling, even laughing a little bit. And that's true, because I was shocked,
A little dumbfounded.
dumbfounded at Tom's conduct. And what occurs to me in the aftermath of all this is, number one, I wrote a letter to the mayor and all 5 council members on this. I recounted the meeting. I called Tom out for his lack of professionalism, the fact that he denied me my rights as a citizen, and the council members have that letter. Well, in the aftermath, it occurred to me that part of the reason that Tom doesn't like me is I bring truth, mutually exclusive. If you're a Christian and you support the pro-aborts, then you better go seek another faith, because you can't call yourself a Christian. You can't. And our Catholic catechism right here, in this church, in our faith, and we are clearly instructed that we seek to end abortion as Catholics and Christians. Tom, Cole, Les, and those on the council who oppose this ordinance are in direct contradiction to their faith, and they cannot call themselves Christians. I speak the truth, and I'm coming out and saying it. You can't call yourself a Christian. You can't call yourself a Catholic if you believe that a woman has a right to choose. A law that prohibited people in their state from crossing the state line to get an abortion. Mm-hmm. Now, extraterritoriality law and the Dormant Commerce Clause, and I've got it right here, the Dormant Commerce Clause and the Privileges and Immunities Clause address this. And these are laws that have been, or these clauses and this legal theory has been tested, and states do have the right to govern their citizens extraterritorially. And I would just tell Tom, Cole, Les, and the rest of them that you have a constitutional attorney in Jonathan Mitchell. Now, here's a guy that's admitted to the bar at the Supreme Court level. Mr. Mitchell represents Donald Trump. Mr. Mitchell has argued cases before the Supreme Court and won. Do you think for one moment that a person of that caliber, with that experience and that legal mind, would have any part in drafting a simple city ordinance? I laugh at this. A simple city ordinance that wouldn't hold up to legal challenges. I mean, if you think for one moment that an attorney of his caliber is going to be a part of that, I'm sorry. It would be an embarrassment to that man. Not only that, Mr. Mitchell has offered his services to the city of Amarillo to represent them in the event of any legal challenge to the ordinance pro bono, which means no cost, okay, to the city. So it's just an affront on his character and caliber of legal expertise to think that that man would draft anything that wouldn't stand up to a legal challenge. Does that make sense?
Not at all. Thanks.
Yes.
Clearly, being pro-life and being a rebuttal to the
Republican Party is pro-life, and that we do not support abortion. And when Matt Rinaldi, who is our state Republican chair, was here in Amarillo about a month or so ago, at the end of the meeting where he was speaking, we had a chance to question him. So I stood up, and Jim Skank was right behind me, and he heard Matt's answer. I asked Matt specifically, as Republicans, okay, could you explain to us how these planks are formulated? And secondly, do you believe that as Republicans, it is important for us to uphold and support the planks of the Republican Party here in Texas in toto? Matt answered. He said, well, if you've ever seen sausage made, that's pretty much how these planks come together. We have 2,500, I think was the answer. 2,500 delegates from around the state of Texas that gather, and they break out into committees and break out groups put together by over 2,500 people from around the state of Texas. So it's not like somebody sends a letter in and says, here's what we think. No, there's a lot of formation of these planks. They're well thought out and well put together, and they specifically delineate what we believe as Republicans. Okay, so there's the answer on how it's put together. Then he answered the second part of my question. Mr. Rinaldi said, support abortion. Are pro-life, those two planks, and he said it is very important that we support and uphold those planks. That is a core state, especially here in Texas. And Mr. Skank was right behind me in the meeting room, and Mr. Skank, along with Michael Ford, have been putting out an awful lot of opposition material to this ordinance. And I don't understand that either, because, you know, as I understand it, and this is purely my understanding, I'm not making any factual statement, and that is Mr. Ford claims to be a Catholic. Well, as a Catholic, he cannot oppose. Mr. Ford addressed Mr. Mitchell directly on his concerns to the ordinance. And Jonathan Mitchell was eloquent in his response. And he gave an explanation for the legal theory behind this that any layman could understand. Anybody could understand it. And that goes for Mr. Skank too, because he was at that meeting. And I'm calling these two out in particular because they're at all the meetings too, you know. And anyway, it is very clear in our Republican Party platform that we are pro-life, that we do not support abortion. This ordinance is very clear. It's very well written. And basically, the ordinance seeks to close the loopholes in the state law. And there's 6 main points to the ordinance that addresses this, among which are trafficking.
Well, I'm a Randall County chair for the 111. And one of the things that we hear from time to time, it's all based in fear, by the way, is if we focus in a hyper sense to this matter, that it's going to wake up the other side and create a backlash of voter turnout on their end. And I think to myself, it's in our plank. It's what we do. It's where we're at. They know where we're at. They know where we stand. If we're talking about one of our planks, what gives? Why is it that some have failed to come out as leadership in the Republican Party to take a stance? Now, we've had a lot of representation sign on in support, but we've also had a lot of quiet out here in our particular districts. And so why is it that, what is it in your opinion that is causing this fear? Why are they not coming out as representatives in the 13, in the 31? You know, we were on the phone with with the office of Kevin Sparks
Yeah.
back in mid-February
I remember that.
concerning his comment in the Globe News,
Yes.
speaking in some detail about Pandora's boxes, and we have to be very careful. In its essence, it really hurt. It hurt the push and the momentum that we had to some degree. And so, what is it? Why are they trafficking in fear? No pun intended. When it comes to standing up for something that is crystal clear as it being on our planks, as you mentioned.
Of any denomination, he failed there too. Because anybody that does their due diligence on the ordinance knows that it's water. For Mr. Sparks to come out and say what he did is something I can't explain other than fear. I think what it is these politicians, when they get into office, it's almost like an exclusive club down there, and they don't want to rock the boat. You know, they wouldn't like me if I ever got elected down there, because I'd be the one rocking the boat down there. And that's what we elect these men to do, and women, is we want them to speak our voice. When you look at the demographics for Texas overall, city of Amarillo, you know, nationwide or whatever, you would find that the majority are of a denomination of one sort or another of the Christian faith. And I go back to those values. I go back to the fact that if you're a Christian, that you are pro-life, no matter what anybody tells you and convinces you otherwise of. You are a Christian, and if you want to call yourself a Christian, you have to uphold that. To make that statement, and I don't, the statement, I'm a Christian, then with that comes the responsibility of upholding the faith, no matter what it is. And in almost all Christian beliefs, not a one, to my knowledge, would support abortion in any way, shape, or form. So what Mr. Sparks did was to violate his faith. If he's a Christian, he violated the support of the planks of the Republican Party. And Mr. Sparks was going to also sign that letter in support of the ordinance and our efforts here. And to date, we haven't heard anything from Carter or Mr. Sparks, which is a huge disappointment. And so we need these men. Yes, they support these efforts in there. And I can tell you, in the meeting that Tom Sherlin kicked me out of, I asked everybody in the room, including Tom. I got a chance to say a few things. And I asked him, did you read House Bill 1280? Did you read Senate Bill 8? Did you read the ordinance? Yes, across the board. Everybody in the room. Yes. Okay, fine. So then tell me this. Why, at the time that Senate Bill 8, the Heartbeat Act, was formulated and put together and passed, did they include a clause in that bill that specifically gave authority to cities and municipalities to pass their own ordinances that were at least as strict as the state law? They can't diminish the state law, but they can pass Jim in shock. I'm like, if you're saying that, okay,
Yeah.
I did. And, or Mark Dixon. And Mark answered the question for me, and he said, yes, that's in there. And I can remember following Jim Skank out of the meeting, and I asked him, I said, Jim, how does it feel? Nice legal theory behind there. What changed? Because back in the day, not more than, yeah, we need to get this done in the state of Texas. And everybody thought, well, yeah, we can sue anybody for anything. We'll try and present you on a lawsuit that is completely ridiculous. Sure, they're out. Okay, Cole couldn't answer my questions.